Um, I want to thank you guys again for coming out. Um, one of the things I think, the reason why I have these is to give you guys the information to the reasons why I was successful in this industry. Um, and quite frankly, some of these issues that I talk about are controversial. We talk about race issues. But one of the things that made me successful, what I did, selling $200,000-$300,000 a month in Window Door Society, is I was able to get the information from my prospects, from my customers, from my clients. And if you don't know, and I'm gonna tell you, 99% of this industry is dominated by white Caucasian males. And so, when you have a black male like myself that's able to succeed abundantly in their environment and do well, I have a wealth of information to help you guys be able to succeed in the house. With that spirit, it's only out of that spirit that I want to help you guys, give you guys the information that I learned while I was in the house. Because quite frankly, some customers share information with you for whatever reasons, some don't. For me, when I was selling in the house, it was important for me to find out why they were buying and why they weren't buying. And I have to go back to my roots. And my roots were this. If I didn't sell, I didn't eat. And that's just as simple as it was for me. And when I went to a customer's house, white, black, green, or yellow, I wanted them to buy. And I wanted to know why they weren't buying if they didn't buy. So out of that spirit of being a minority in a dominated Caucasian business, I share my stories to let you know if I can do it, get the information, to close more deals, make more money, and that's what we're talking about. I'm not talking about no more other than that, so you guys can be prepared to make more money and sell more jobs. And quite frankly, like I say, some of this stuff is controversial. But this is sales. And the only way that you're gonna make money is by closing deals. So, that's that. Everybody has an understanding to where I'm coming from? Because the last thing I want to do is come over and in this book I wrote, it tells people about my life story, where I think I've been in this industry since I was 19. This book here has a wealth of information about sales, people, agents, the people that I came up against, that I sold, the reasons why they bought. I have quotes from my customers in here, agents, Pakistanis that I've sold, and the reasons why they bought. So it's called the Window of Opportunity, and I'll be able to share more about that later on. But the information is so valuable. When you go into a house, guys, you guys want the information so you guys can close that deal. I mean, right or wrong. I mean, I can't put it no more simple than that. And this book, The Sales Secrets That Never Failed, The Window of Opportunity, unleashes the secrets to that. All right, so another thing we talked about yesterday, and just want to clear the air so people know where I stand. I talked about blowing leads. you gotta understand where I'm coming from, then again. And this is no offense to anybody, I just want you guys to understand where I'm coming from and the value of the lead. It's not so much the message, it's about the messenger that's bringing it. When I got started in this business, if I had a lead and I went to a house, I was strictly straight commission. So I valued that lead. I took my time, I read it, and I was prepared because I knew that if I did not sell that job, I was not eating. And that served me well. Because every lead I went on, I treated it as though it was a goal. I treated it as though it was gold. And I took my time. So when I talk about blowing leads, I don't mean that to insult anybody. I know Carl got put processes in order. Scott got processes in order. Some of these big companies, they don't. Guys just blow through leads. So it's not so much that I was coming at you or anyway trying to be mean-spirited, but these leads cost money. And if you don't look at that lead and say, hey, this is gold, I got somewhere I can go. I knocked on doors to get my leads. And when I gave my salesperson the lead, they had the same attitude. This is an opportunity. So with that being said, does everybody understand where I'm coming from? There's no mean-spirited here. It's that I want you guys to realize the opportunity that when you get a lead, it's an opportunity to go and perform and do your best. And you may not get a lead the next time, or you may not get a lead. So you gotta take the lead you got and really analyze it and go in that house with the proper information so you can sell it. Because for me, I didn't sell it. I didn't eat. So out of that spirit, what I was talking about yesterday when I said some people blow off leads, that's where we're coming from. Anybody understand? That good? All right, so yesterday we were on preparation, and preparation is big. We talked about being prepared before you go to the house. I think that's key. I think that's key to in several factors is that you gotta have the information in order to close deals. You gotta have as much information on product knowledge as you can. Product knowledge is big, okay? And when I talk about product knowledge, I'm not talking about the superficial stuff, the stuff that you can get off the brochure. You gotta dig a little deeper. You guys have competitors in here, okay? So when you go to the house, you want to be one step ahead. You want to have information that sets yourself apart from your competitors. And that's what I did. All the information that when I went to a house to sell a job, I was so well prepared that if a homeowner told me no, I was like, wow, I must have missed something. And if I was sure that I didn't miss something when I got down to the close, I would ask them. Did I miss something? Or did the misunderstanding here? But I made sure that I was totally prepared when I go in the house. All right? So you guys have to decide what makes Roofing and More different than your competitors. Not only Roofing and More, but what makes you different when you go to the customer's house. So when Firehouse comes behind you, or you come behind Firehouse, how are the homeowners going to decide who to go with? Well, everybody said they got the best window. Roofing and More said they got the best window. 500, they got the best window. They got the best siding, the best roofing, the best windows, the best doors. Okay, that's fine. Best pricing, that's fine. How's the homeowner gonna choose? How they gonna choose? So, for example, you got roofing and more, go to E, you go to E. You're not aggressive. You leave the house. You say, I got the best one, I got the best price. Scott Maple comes behind you. Scott, you don't mind me using your company, do you? Scott comes behind you. It's a little bit more sharper. Well, we're from Morris here. Well, okay. Well, oh yeah, they're doing that one down. Yeah, I ain't got Mr. Maple comes behind you, prepared, one step ahead. One piece of information about that window that he has can land that job. Can land that job. One information that you have above his, you can land that job. And you can land it that day. Now, I'm a big guy on landing jobs the same day, for the simple fact that if I'm coming behind you, you're not coming back. If I'm coming behind you, or anybody in my organization, or anybody that I'm associated, anybody I train or whatever, you're not coming back. Because my guys are so well prepared, and we know the marketplace so well, and the sales system so well, that we know that you guys are not prepared. We know the guy ahead of us is not prepared. So when we come in there behind you guys talking about, coming back, it ain't gonna happen. And some companies operate like that. Some companies are so sharp on their guys that, when they're there, they're trying to get the job. So that's why it's important, so important that you guys are prepared. Can you think of anything right now at the top of your head, and the Allied guy may know because he's a manufacturer, a distributor. So, what makes your window or one of your products, top of your head, that's different than all your competitors? So you can share with your people.
We're private label.
No, that ain't gonna get it.
That ain't gonna do it?
Private label don't get it.
Lead times.
Lead times? Everybody talks about lead times. Everybody talks about lead times. You need something a little bit more deeper than that. All that stuff is so important when you go to the house. Oh, Mr. Jones, did he talk about the low E? Oh, no, what's the low E?
I was looking at it as your distribution, what's going to separate me from my competitor.
Well,
I know you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make myself clear.
I got you.
But, so, what type of vinyl? Did he tell you what type of vinyl he was using? Did he tell you what was made? All that stuff, that little stuff, was applicable to the homeowner. It's the small stuff. I can't remember everything about when I took into the house, but I remember the things that I looked for when I went to the house, and I knew the other stuff was didn't know. And that made the difference. So Ms. Jones was talking about, she had a pad and she was writing down her notes, and did he talk about this? Did he talk about how the vinyl was made? Did he talk about where the glass came from? Did he talk about on the siding? Did he talk about the thickness of the siding? Did he talk about how the siding was made? Not that I got the best vinyl on private label. No one can get this. Am I making myself clear a little bit, guys? Yeah. And that small stuff, that very small stuff, is how you guys stay ahead of your competition. Finance knowledge. We talk about finance knowledge. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. I just want to reiterate. Financing is key in the house. If you get down to the close, I'm going to get down there, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that. You get down to the close, and we are talking about, Ms. Jones says, I your window, I like your company, I like you, you're a swell guy, but I don't have $15,426 laying around. You know, what are you gonna do? Zero down, zero interest. Well, my credit isn't up good. What are you gonna do? You have to know every finance plan that's out there. All you salespeople gotta know every finance plan that's out there. Because let me tell you something. I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna hear me say this over and over again. The more you know, the more money you make. So when you go into a house, and they have one company maybe just talking about zero down, zero interest, and no payment for 12 months. But there's a ton of programs out there that you can fit into the homeowner's budget to get that job. So it's very important that you talk about financing, because like I said, this day and age, and when a homeowner talks about, well, you know, I'm gonna go down to my credit union tomorrow and get the check for you. How many ran into that? Anybody? Huh? I'm going to, and if you haven't, you will. You really look this on that. Oh yeah, I'll go to the bank tomorrow, and I'll go to the credit union. I'll get a home equity loan. And you call tomorrow. Oh well, I ain't quite made it down there, but and we're talking about you're in the month and you're trying to hit your number. Ms. Jones, this is Grant calling from ABC Windows. I was at your house last night, and you talked about us coming out and picking up a check for the windows. Oh, you haven't made it to the credit yet? You haven't made it down to the bank yet? Oh, you're gonna make it down there when? Tomorrow? Oh, you didn't have time to get down there today? Okay, I'll call you tomorrow then. Oh, you want me to call you Friday? 'Cause you got other things to do? Okay, I'll call you Friday. You call Friday, you get the same runaround. The point that I want you guys to understand is there's so many finance programs out there that, and when I get down to the close, I'll go into more detail, but the more dollars that you have to control that sale, from the time that you are preparation to now when you go into the house, the customer has no way, and ask you what you're doing, and what I did, and what I train my people to do, and it's not high pressure. We follow it right down to the close. When we get down to the close, there's no way out. There's no way out. And as you see me go through this presentation, when you get down to the close, there's no way out. The only objection that they're gonna have, the only option that they're gonna have is to sign my contract. And that's the only option that I want them to have. I don't want to come back next week. I don't want to come back tomorrow. I want them to do it while I'm there, unless they have a legitimate reason to be getting another estimate. But I got something for that too. So, am I making it a little bit more clear today? All right. So we talked about the approach, how you approach your customer. You know, you want to be positive. You wanna try to use your left side of your brain and knock out the negative. Acknowledge the negative that you're walking up to the house. I think that's so important. I can't tell you how important that is. Salespeople, and listen, when I say salespeople, I'm talking in general. If you don't fit in that category, that's fine, but I'm talking about generalities here. Some people have a tendency when they see something, they let that negative stuff sit in, And my suggestion to you is when you walk up to a house, because everything you do, people perceive. So when you walk up to the house, you see something negative, acknowledge it, because that's what the negative side wants you to do. It wants you to acknowledge and say, that's not right. But they don't want you to respond to it, they want you to acknowledge it. You acknowledge it, and you keep on moving in a professional manner. And don't let that negative bother you. And that's key to the approach, because homeowners are looking at you, and they're looking for any reason not to buy. Any reason not to buy, okay? And so if you respond any negative way, that's a good chance that the homeowner's gonna peep that out, see that, and they're gonna react and say, this guy, you know, because in my story with the redneck, that's what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to respond to his mean, nasty, negative attitude. And I kind of knew it, but I had to force myself to acknowledge the negative, be professional, and keep doing my job. And that is key when you approach it. I mean, like I said yesterday, who wants to walk up and see a Confederate flag? Who wants to walk up and see a swastika? Who wants to walk up and see any pet peeves that you guys may see? Who wants to see that stuff? But we as professionals can't let it interfere with what you're doing. They're all traps. They're all traps from the homeowner. So your approach to the house, I think, is very, 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 very important. You guys agree?
Yes.
Yes.
And then, you know, and then maintain a positive attitude, be a leader. Leadership, I'm big on leadership, lead by example, you know what I mean? I think that's important. And then the main thing, make no assumptions. That's one thing, assumptions make what? You know? Everybody know what assumption makes, right? That's right, and that is so true. So you don't want to make any assumptions, and the main thing that you want to do is when you get out of that car, walking up to that house, you want to focus to connect to what that person is saying to you, because that person is the most important thing right then and right now. Not your wife, not your kids, not your mother-in-law. You know, when you live, you got to be in the moment. You have to be in the moment, because if you're not in the moment, and people perceive that, they perceive it because every time I wasn't in the moment. I had this stuff going through my head. My wife, my kids, my son acted up in school. You know, I just get a call from my wife, and you know, even today, I tell my wife, honey, I can't deal with that now. I'm focused. I'll call you back. I'm focused. My son, my daughter, honey, I can't deal with that right now. I'll deal with it later on, but right now I need to focus. You know, and that is so important. You know, and I get this information from people. I had a friend of mine, Dave's boss, Mel Rosenblatt. Mel was a multi-millionaire. And this guy was always up. And Mel was 83, and I talked to him probably once a month now. And one of the things he taught me is, you know, Grant, you gotta stay focused. You can't let this stuff distract you. It's just like a basketball player, football player, doctor, any professional. You gotta stay focused on the task at hand. And that's how you become a leader. That's how you sell jobs. That is how you make the money. But it starts with the preparation, then it goes to the approach when you're approaching the house. So that way, your mind's clear, you're focused, and you're ready about your business. And you're focusing on to connect. You wanna connect to that customer at their level to see where they're at. And after a while, I got so good at it that it's just a part of me now. When I talk to anybody, I'm in the moment. I am in the moment. When I'm talking to Kyle, Dave, or whoever, I'm in the moment. I heard what you said yesterday. I don't know if you were here when I talked about the information in this book about cost of selling. But I'm in the moment. I hear everything, and that's so important when you're selling. When you're being the salesperson, you gotta watch everything around you and be attuned to it. And I'm probably beating the dead horse, Anna, because you gotta know all this stuff, right?
I think it's important to be reminded, though. I mean, the answer to your question is, I'm going to say yes. I've heard this stuff.
Right.
But to be reminded of it, because I wrote down, for me, you know, how many sales have you lost because you assumed? I mean, really.
Right.
I'm not looking for some magical answer that's going to change my. I'm
Right.
looking for small things that are
Right.
going to get me 25 more sales a year.
That's right.
You know what I mean, or 20 more sales a
That's
year,
right.
which is gonna make the difference of, you know, crossing another level of the tax bracket. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right, right.
So the assumptions, I just think, are huge for, I know for me, and I just say to everybody in the room, ask yourself. How many of
Absolutely.
you know, oh, this person goes to my church, so I'll treat them a little differently. I just assume because they go to my church, I'm gonna get the sale.
Right.
Or this person's next door to one of my happy customers, so I assume I'm gonna, and I don't ask the right questions and probe deep enough, and then when the objection comes up, I don't have ammunition.
That's right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
it happens,
That's right.
you know?
That's right.
So I
That's
say,
right.
yes, we do know, but we need to be reminded and we need to dig deeper to cross that,
That's
to get to
good.
that next level.
Right, you're right, you're right. I appreciate that feedback. Anybody else, Scott, anything? No? You know, I think this is, you know, we started on this a little bit yesterday. You know, it's not about, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, and my professional opinion. You know, and I think it's a myth when I say, you know, customer gotta like you to buy off you. I think the customer has to respect you, and trust you to buy off you. They're not saying they don't have to like you. And that comes from my own walk. A lot of people that I have sold, and I have to go back to the redneck. Maybe that's kind of mean spirit, but he was a pretty tough guy. We had nothing in common. Was pretty nasty to me, bored, derogatory. I felt really belittled. I didn't let him know it. We didn't make a very good rapport in the beginning, and throughout the process, there was no rapport. Very little. I didn't trust him. He didn't trust me. We didn't acknowledge that, but we knew it. So, with that being said, I don't think it's true that a person has to like you in order to buy from you. And if we get to the end of the story, you'll find out how we came together. But it was a tough deal, and I still get emotional about it because it was a learning point. The guy it was very emotional. I mean, to go to somebody that, you know, you're looking around and you're saying, man, you know, this guy, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I was able to get it done, but the rapport, you know, is so important because you have to maintain that professionalism at any cost. You know, rapport is good when when you walk to somebody, you got to take it off. You know, you guys are on the same page. I mean, you walk up to your customer, and you know that guy's your customer, and he knows you guys like each other in the beginning. But how about the people that you don't like? People that you don't understand? What about them? How do you get past that? You got any ideas?
I mean, customers that we don't like the customer.
Yeah, customers don't like you. Oh, look, they're out there. You're gonna come across them. If you haven't, you will.
Customers that don't like us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay, so how you deal with it?
Raise the price.
essentially,
And here's why. Essentially,
You
refer
to that as cold calls.
if you hear my story, the whole time I'm thinking I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna win this war.
I like those situations.
Huh?
I love those situations. I really do.
But how do you deal with it? What's your approach? What's going on through your head? What are you thinking?
That whatever objections or reasons that person has towards me, I've learned now to address them head on. I call them out. I ask them straight up. Because you said with this story of yours, you didn't talk about it, but you knew you didn't like it. You knew you didn't trust them, whatever it was. You guys knew it was unspoken, but it was there. I've actually learned this from watching Kyle do it. Now, in the past, I would kind of hope to, use misdirection. Oh, look over here, and try to get away from that uncomfortable thing. And now I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll close my book, put my pen down, and I'll just directly we gotta address this before we can move on. And I'll ask them if they trust me, and get them. And usually 9 times out of 10, for whatever reason, and it's usually past experiences that they had.
Right.
They'll talk about it.
Right.
But then we're able to move on from there.
Right.
In the past, I would kind of skirt the issue or try to pretend it's not there, or
Right.
kind of wow them with something else. Or look what I can do. Or,
Right.
maybe if I come down in price, then I can just get the heck out of here.
Right.
And now I just hit it right on. I just stop
Right.
what I'm doing, and even if they haven't said anything, I'll say, I'm sensing this.
Right.
Is this the case? And I've told people, like, we can't move on if we don't have a mutual respect and trust for each other.
Right.
So if there's a reason that you don't, I want to be able to address it. Seems to work.
That's good. That's good. That's good. And
Because my brain, I'm too concerned with it the whole time. It's over here, and I need it to go away, so I can get
Right.
back to doing what I'm
Right,
doing. I
right.
need to be able to do my thing. I
That's
can't
right.
do it. I'm
Right.
worried about this other thing.
right. Because you will come across people that that you don't initially have a good rapport. It's always good and fun and dandy, like I said, you come up to somebody and you know that's your customer, and you're looking for that customer. Because I used to look for my particular customer, this guy's my customer, that guy's my customer. But the ones that you're missing, because you're not focusing on at hand, because you're looking for that particular customer that you can sell. And so when you come up to somebody and you don't understand them, and you don't have something in common with them, it can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
Am I the only one,
It is tough.
Wally?
I hear what you're saying. I think you're always gonna have one thing in common with them. They've got something that they want done, and you're trying to sell yourself to them to get that thing done. So, So there is a common ground with everybody, or you wouldn't be there to begin with.
Right. Well, that's professionalism.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Because the customer wants something done and you're there, and you want to be able to fulfill that need.
Right.
But-
But you do need to get past if there's somebody that's obviously been, I've come across it, I haven't done this all that long, but I have come across where people have had a bad experience with a contractor.
Right.
They tend to paint all contractors with the same brush.
Right.
That's just, it's not the case.
I think it says it, respect is the most important thing. One of my things that I say, and my answer to your question, Grant, is you have to have an order in which you do things, a system.
Right.
If you show up and try to take control too dominantly immediately, then you're in some trouble, You have to be careful. So there has to be a system in order the way you do it. But what I do when somebody doesn't like contractors or I don't think I show up very often, they automatically don't like me because they don't know me, so how can they know? But they're on edge, they're judgmental,
Right.
they've made a decision about whatever.
Right.
And I'll tell somebody, I'll ask questions, and then I'll look at them and I'll say, I'm here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want
Right.
I say, that, you know, most contractors, would you agree, they'll come in, and they tell you everything you wanna hear, and then they don't deliver. I'm here to tell you, we're gonna destroy those bushes out there. We're gonna rip your house up. You need to know.
Right.
You need to be prepared for this. You need to understand what we're doing here, you know? And then you don't tear the bushes up, and when you're done, they go, I thought you said you were gonna tear the bush up. No, well, it went better than we thought. And they
Right.
love you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, you have to build that trust by telling them what they need to hear. I think too many sales guys, they tell everybody what they want to hear.
What they wanna hear.
Yeah, and
Right.
it becomes a problem. And
Right.
then it flows into production, and it flows into service, and then it flows into bad reputation.
Right,
And you're shooting
absolutely.
yourself in the foot.
Right.
And it just gets harder and harder and harder until one day you wonder why the company's not there anymore.
Right. That's good, that's good, Dave.
And I think what Kyle said as far as you gotta stick with your system, don't leave any of the steps out, and you better have a good warm-up. A good warm-up. So they get a feel for you, you get a feel for them. And, you know, just because you don't like Indians, he might be a really great guy. Maybe he
That's right.
likes Washington Nationals, he likes the Redskins.
Right,
You gotta have something in common with him, maybe he's a believer.
right.
How about that?
No, you're right, you're right, you're right. Man, this lost my train of thought.
It happens.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one too, but, I was getting ready to say before Dave said it, I think it would have been enlightening.
You're about straight off the thing there.
But yeah, you know, so, I think it's important, the warm up, the rapport, you know, to talk about, you know, build trust, you know, get comfortable with the prospect, listen, gather information, take control of the atmosphere. When I say take control of the atmosphere, you know, you can do that. Take control doesn't mean that, when I say take control of the atmosphere, what I'm saying there is take control of yourself. Meaning that if the customer is being dominant, like, now, I refer to my very next story, and as the day goes on, the whole story is gonna come out, but, I let him take control. I mean, the guy was really dominant. I mean, he came to the door, he had a shirt button down here, he had a Confederate fat belt, he had a Confederate flag on his truck. He came to the door, and not as much to say hello, or you the siding boy. I mean, that cut right down to my soul, you know. But I kind of knew then this was going to be a tough one. But when I say take control of the atmosphere, doesn't mean take control. Take control means that you adapt to him. I adapted to him. I had to swallow, say, okay, I'm in a new environment, I'm in a different environment. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. So I actually took control without him even knowing that I took control. And that's what you gotta do. That's what I mean by taking control. Not literally taking control, it's subliminally when you get to a house with somebody different than you are, you don't know the environment of what you're operating in. You know, you want to take control of yourself, your atmosphere, and perceive and let that person, let the homeowner think he is in control, but really you're in control. That makes sense a little bit?
Well, I think what I'm seeing, because we're reading the screen ahead, you know, by doing what you're talking about doing, lowers their resistance.
Absolutely.
That's what it does.
Absolutely.
And it takes you to that next step in the system.
That's
you
right,
know?
that's right, that's
It
right.
just automatically works, you know?
And another thing you're able to do, when you don't respond, you're able to gather information. You're able to gather information because you're more concerned. The customer may not know it, but you're more concerned about him than you are about yourself and getting that sale. You're more concerned. And at that point, he's talking. He's talking. he sided with my house and this and that, so you're gathering information. You're gathering, and the key is, as much information as you can gather, when you get down to the close, bang, 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 it's easy as, and that's why I always advocate a one-day close, because if you do it right, it can happen. You wanna educate and perform, you wanna be able to, be polite, answer the homeowner's questions at that point. You wanna, if he has any objections, you wanna be able to defer them, and more importantly, you wanna be in sync. And listen, being in sync with somebody totally, and it's easy to be in sync with somebody you know, but being in sync with the total opposite person, pretty tough.
Can you explain in more detail defer objections? Because I hear that as put them off, where I'm more, if there's an objection, deal with it right now and close the door right now.
Well, the deferred objection means, if the homeowner says, I don't like, red siding. Well, so when we get down to the siding procedures, when we get down there, I'll be able to show you that.
So they're not closing objections, they're the other objections, like product, things like that.
Right,
What's
yeah.
important to them.
Right, because at this point right here, when you're building, when you're trying to build trust and rapport, you're trying to gather information, you're trying to digest information, and you don't wanna talk about siding or windows before you even get to the presentation.
You don't want to let them take you ahead. Follow the steps.
That's right. You wanna be,
This is still during the warm-up.
That's good.
yeah, they warm up before, right?
And then granted, I think it's, it takes
Sometimes
a,
people try to take us to P4.
Yeah.
or P2. Sure.
it takes a lot of discipline to let that client or customer get the whole objection out until he stops talking. It takes a lot of discipline.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We want
Yeah.
we want answers. We want answers.
Shoot them down immediately.
Yeah, he don't want to be cut off.
Absolutely, you're
Yeah.
right, you're right, and he doesn't. Right.
You know how many salespeople you talk to, when you're talking, before you're even finished talking, they're talking. They cut you off, they don't let you finish,
Right.
and I always call people out on that. I'm like,
Right.
you don't even let me finish, so you're probably not letting your customers finish.
Right.
You let them finish,
And-
you listen.
And the most important aspect, and I learned this from my competitor, I learned this from my distributor, that the customer, the way he feels things, is the most important thing. It was never about me. Always about how can I best serve my customer. How does my customer feel? Most sales, this is generalizing, so, most sales people think it's about them closing the deal. That's further from the truth. It's about, if you can think and feel the way your customer and answer his needs, their needs, already understand where they're coming from, that's where you make the money at. That's where I made a ton of my money. When I figured that out, that it wasn't about me going in there and trying to close deals the same day, me get the big commission check, me. But when I actually said, okay, this isn't about me. This is about, how does this customer feel? What's this customer feeling right now? Can I get in sync? Can I identify with that customer? And that takes, and that's why I go back to, unquote, burning leads. Because the customer, this lead that you got, this is the most important thing in the whole company. So to understand that lead, to understand this particular lead, you gotta understand the customer. And we all know that Indians, Pakistanians, they all want to bicker and barter and all that stuff. But did you know that you sit there? I mean, I have had Indian customers just literally stomp and storm like babies. I mean, the guy was like, "Oh, you're not gonna move up your prices," and I can't believe it, you know. And I was just saying, man, you know, you're acting like a baby here, you know. And I would say that to him. I mean, but if no one says it to him, they're gonna keep doing the same stuff. Then he would calm down. "Oh, I can't believe you won't give me that. I can't." Oh, and then we gotta go back to this again. No, I'm not moving off my price. You know? But when you figure out why they do that, it's culture. This is the way they are. It's from India. So it really doesn't offend me or doesn't upset me now, because I asked him, you know, why you act this way? We used to get nowhere, we used to bartering, and I now, don't take any offense to this. This is for more educational when you come up against these type of people. When I talk about, because this information is good. When they say, you know, and after we're done and they sign a contract, and we're sitting there having a cup of coffee and all the things, and I got my price, and he's not too happy, but he's happy to go with me. And I said, well, you know, why you act that way? And he was, you know, he said, you know, it's our culture and whatnot. And I just trust white people. Okay? And I said, just trust white people? Why would you do that? And then he'd go into his culture and the British and how they were enslaved to the British. But if you don't have to, it's not that they don't, they concede. So that's just information. When you come up against them type of people, you got the information. It's not so much they don't trust white people. They've been the more able to relate, and there's not too many of us out there selling the Indians. So I'm able to get this information. So it's not that, and they're sympathized with Afro-Americans. They sympathize because we were enslaved, and they were enslaved to the British. So, so when you get down to the nitty-gritty at the table, you want to find out the information. So you can share that information to your colleagues. I was in Georgetown, selling a job. It's in the book. In Georgetown, selling a job. And I've been in this area over 30 years, and I've been out to Admissionsville sound siding, to over to Baltimore sound siding, and all in between Richmond, Petersburg. This particular time, I was in Georgetown, selling a condo, and I came to the door. I knocked on the door. Lady came to the door. She was a Polish lady. And she had on the radio, Free USA. That's the radio station on?
It was Radio Free Europe.
Yeah, Radio Free
Voice of
USA.
America.
Yeah. You ever hear the Voice of America? Well, Voice of America, I guess it's a private station, but it plays all over in Europe and all that, Free USA and all that. And she had it on loud. And I'm saying to myself, I don't know nothing about Polish people. I'm supposed to connect to this lady. Totally different. We're sitting in the house, and she said, I cannot believe what the Russians are doing to my people over in Georgia. They're slaughtering them. They're over there causing war. And I must go back to my country. And I said, well, you said my husband was the professor over at the university. He's been dead for so many years. And Yeah, and, but at that point there, the lady that was over in her country being destroyed by the Russians, but she related to her story to the Afro-American story. And what we were able to do is find common ground. And with that, I was able to connect to her on a emotional level and a professional level. I ended up selling the lady, 15 windows. So the rapport part and being in sync and being able to identify with your customers is so key. It's so key. And like I said, I went to the extreme to where the one guy, he didn't